Welcome to another episode of News Points on the Air, a production of the North American Division of Seventh-day Adventists. I'm your host, Milan Medley. This is the second of a two-part feature on the life of Rockefeller Twyman, aka Rocky. If you haven't listened to part one, I'd encourage you to do yourself a favor and get to know Rocky through our previous episode. Rocky was fortunate and blessed to have a close relationship with the civil rights legend and people's champion John Lewis and his esteemed wife Lillian. In honor of the late congressman's birthday, Rocky shared some of his fond memories of the couple and unpacked the profound effect they had on his life. When did your life and the life of John Lewis, when did your lives intersect?
They intersected when I worked at the Atlanta University library. Like my freshman year in college.
About what year was that?
When I came home. You're trying to tell me. You're trying to
I'm
show
just
my
painting
age.
a picture.
No problem, darling. I'm just talking. That was around 1966.
Okay.
And I just, was able to meet her. And, like I said, began working in a very lucrative position at the library because they were really paying good money because they were Xeroxing all those Black literature pieces and everything. And
I'm sure
so
those pieces weren't widely distributed
That's right.
among, other libraries and bookstores and schools even.
Yeah, and it was just wonderful because I didn't even know a lot of those people existed, that were writing. And it was so fascinating. And she was just so lovely, Lillian Lewis.
This was his wife.
This was his wife. And then,
she got you happened? The position? She worked with you at the library? What
she was the head librarian.
Wow.
She was head over that, the Bell and Howell project, though. Because she had been an English major. She was from California.
Oh.
Very, very classy lady. And, and then we had that music connection because she really loved good music, and I was, like I said, I was classically trained, and because I can do it all, the gospel and all and everything. But
classically trained in
a piano. Yeah, right.
Okay.
And I had studied conducting too and everything. But we just became really good friends. And I had a group at the Berean Seventh-day Adventist Church there called the Black Singing Disciples. And she really supported us in our endeavors to go to Jamaica. And we ended up singing at C.D. Brooks's Big Tent effort in Montego Bay, right on the ocean. It was just really a wonderful experience.
Wait, so how did you even get this job? You just happened to work for this library with this head librarian.
Well, no, there was a connection. My sister's friend knew Lillian Lewis very well.
Okay.
And he introduced me to her. And, we just became good friends.
Yeah.
And then what happened was, at that time, there was a lot of civil rights activity going on.
All right.
And so they had me playing everywhere. I mean, I was just tearing up. I mean, I was at so many dinner parties and receptions, and there was a guy, I can't remember his name, but he decided he was going to run for governor of Georgia, a Black guy. And I was playing at Ralph Abernathy's house and all the homes of Julian Bond. And so, and then, that was how I really, really met John. And then he eventually ran for Congress and won, and they came up here to DC.
Mm-hmm.
And, they just continued to look after me. They treated me really like a son. I just was given tickets to all these big time events, and that really helped me build my, media network too.
I see.
Because I mean, when I go to a reception, it's like a working thing for me because I go there to meet people. But it's also interesting. A lot of times I will have tracks in my suit. Uh,
Yeah.
and the Lord will sometimes just tell me, give this man a track. And that's what I'll do,
Mm-hmm.
because I'll have like a lot of times health tracks that are a lot just non-confrontational, but full of meat for the person that receives them. And so when I get to heaven, I really want to know how many of those tracks, you know, how
Yeah.
many souls were saved from those tracks.
Yeah.
Uh,
But
uh,
I want to back up a little bit just so I have a clear understanding of your connection there. So
sure.
you come back to Atlanta during your summers from studying at La Sierra University,
Right.
where you were in school. You come back in the summers and you, through connections, end up working with the wife of John Lewis, Lillian Lewis, who's
Right.
the head librarian at this particular library. And with your musical training and her love for music, you guys strike this bond.
We strike this
And
bond.
yeah, and then your musical skills were, I guess she helped set you up on different gigs with these civil rights
Right.
leaders. If in case people heard those names and weren't sure, Martin Luther King usually comes to mind when people think about the civil rights movement and their leaders,
Right.
but those names of Ralph Abernathy and Julian Bonds, they were also these very important figures in the civil rights movement.
Very important.
So for you to be invited to play for their gatherings and for, fundraisings, that's, I want to make sure we take some time to highlight how big of a deal that is, for people who may just be unaware of that, that
And
importance.
it just really opened up doors, because the crowd that I was mingling with, and Andy Young, you know, and then one thing led to another. And, when Carter became president, um, a lot of those people came up here. And so that just broadened the network anymore because I was getting invited to a lot of stuff. I was getting up to the White House,
Hmm.
and all these other parties, VIP events.
Yeah.
And that really did help me.
Wondering if you can maybe share maybe a couple of your most memorable experiences with him. We've already talked about the tremendous role his wife played in your life, and like they're a married couple, so it's like
Uh-huh.
one's impact reflects, both. But what about any personal connections that you had with John Lewis? What are a couple
Oh,
of your
sure.
favorite memories?
Oh, well, one of my favorite memories was when they first came to Washington. I rented a limousine, and it was around Christmas time, and I took them because my nephew was in this private school, and they had a it was a fundraiser. It was a house tour of these fabulous homes in the Potomac because they,
In
had
Potomac,
fixed it
Maryland,
right.
which
One
is
of
a
the richest.
very affluent, one of the most wealthy zip codes in America, I believe.
That's right. And
Mhm.
see, they it was a fundraiser for them because they had they would open up their houses because, they were so rich, they would have people come and decorate their houses for Christmas. And so before that, we went to brunch at the Capitol Hilton Hotel, and it was just lovely to have them there. And it was just so lovely to be able to do something for them because they had done so much for me in the past. And we just had a lovely time. That was one of my fondest memories, fondest. And then another one was in Atlanta, um, going to his house. And he was a very big baseball fan. And the Atlanta Braves were doing very well that year. And this was my first time being in their new house that they had built in Atlanta. And it was just so magnificent because he had so many wonderful uh, pieces of artwork and so many outstanding photographs. It's like a collage of the civil rights movement. And I just really did enjoy that. And whenever I would see him well, of course, a lot of times they would get me tickets to the Black Caucus events that come here every year. And we would always hug. And he was just such a wonderful man, such a kind spirit. And he had been through so much because he was like beaten like 60 times during the civil rights movement. And he still had a loving and kind spirit. I mean, I found that his spirit to me was closest to that of the spirit of Christ.
Really?
Forgiving. Yeah, forgiving and everything. And because
Forgiving
he had
people who had harmed him physically.
oh yeah. I mean, doing that Edmund Pettus Bridge thing, I mean, he really could have been paralyzed for life after the way they beat him up there. But he didn't have any animosity or anything. And I enjoyed like visiting his office on Capitol Hill too, because that was always full of just newspaper clippings and just stuff that was just so historical in nature.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really do miss him so much. And when I went to the mural in Atlanta, I just broke down in tears because I hadn't seen it, even though it had been up in Atlanta, but I had never been to it. And after he passed away, I did a story down there. And, it just brought me to tears to see that mural. Now, the only thing, what I'm going to really push for is that they put a picture of Lillian in there somewhere. They got to do that because she really did. She was a big part of his life.
Yeah, and I was hoping actually we could get back to that connection you have with the family unit, not just with John, but with Lillian. So it seemed like she especially had kind of brought you into the family. So
That's right.
can you talk about that a little more, like how you became, adopted in a sense into the Lewis family?
Well, I think it was really the arts connection too. I think that was the big thing because she was really into the arts. And we would talk about I remember she loved Leontine Price. And um that was the kind of caliber of artist that she was really, and pianists like Andre Watts and everything. I mean, she liked the gospel thing, but that church they went to was a very sophisticated church, Ebenezer Baptist. They sang really high anthems, and spirituals, and they had some wonderful musicians there. Because that organist there, David Steels, I just used to just flip out when I heard him play hymns. And so, yeah, she really did bring me into the family, and she kind of watched over me and made sure that I had tickets to the right stuff when she came up when I came up here to when they came up here to DC.
Yeah.
I never had to worry about tickets to some of the VIP events, and she had me play for some things up here too. You know, when she came up here, and I remember she was a big fan of Whitley Phipps, and we went to his church one day.
And I just want to pause for 1 second. You know, people know the name Whitley Phipps, you know, the famous singer, but they may not realize that he was also for a time a pastor, a local pastor for a church called the Capitol Hill Seventh-day Adventist Church in Washington, D.C. So when you refer to going to his church, this is when he was taking time to be a local pastor.
Right. And she just loved his singing. So we went there one Sabbath together. And, you know, of course, he recognized her and everything. And it was wonderful to be in Atlanta, but it was really sad, you know, to know that, you know, he's not going to be coming back anytime soon.
When was the last time you saw Congressman Lewis in person?
Oh, that was in 2019 at the Black Caucus event, because when he went to the Black Lives Matter Plaza, I just my contacts failed me, and I didn't really know that he was coming.
And his health had already started to decline at that time, because I remember he looked frail.
Oh yeah, that was. But what I had tried to do, because in February of 2020, I put together a musical fundraiser, not fundraiser, but just a musical event out here in Rockville at the library. And we tried to get him to come, but it was, you know, he was going through all that chemotherapy and everything.
And it was, you know, just to honor him. It was just put on to.
It was a Black History Month program, yeah. And a lot of Adventists, you know, participated in it, and a lot of great Adventist musicians.
But you said 2019.
That was like one of my last things that I was able to really do for him before he passed on. But we went down. I went to Atlanta, and we did a prayer vigil at his site, because
at his the mural that's erected in his honor, in his memory. So
they painted it in his memory. It's on Auburn Avenue, there in Atlanta, and it's a beautiful mural. And like I said, the only thing missing to me is they need a picture of Lillian in there somewhere, because she was his first campaign manager when he ran for Congress.
Wow.
You know, she really did put that together, and she was very articulate, you know, because I told you she had been like an English major.
Yeah.
And she had been a part of the Peace Corps.
Wow.
Too. And they were put together by a woman named Zenona Clayton, who was the first Black woman to have a television show in the South. And she spoke at John Lewis's funeral and Lillian's funeral too. But she brought them together. But I mean, we were what we were down there doing. We were trying to dramatize because the whole Senate left at a time when they needed to renew that COVID-19 relief bill. And so we
Oh,
had
you're
just,
referring to winter 2020
well,
when
it was
they
really
recessed.
August. It
Oh,
was really August of 2020. They
when they
left.
went on recess.
They went on recess, and then all these people are out here suffering. And so we did a story down there saying that if John Lewis had still been alive, you know, he would not have left.
You mentioned to me before that you were able to offer, you were able to play music for Lillian Lewis as her health was declining.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Right.
can you talk about that time? I know it must be, a painful to think about the death of your friends and your family.
Yeah. No, but I don't mind talking about it though. But she just so appreciated it. You know, I mean, she wasn't to the point where, she was on her deathbed, so to speak, but
Okay.
she was, frail. And I just would just play classical pieces and her requests. And it just would really lift her spirits. And so I just felt like, well, I'm doing the work of God here. And, I just, it was a very hard thing because I knew of all the wonderful things that she had done for me so unselfishly. And it was very, 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 very hurtful. But,
hurtful to see her.
yeah, to see her go down like that.
Yeah, to see her decline.
Decline, yeah. And
Okay.
he really took it hard because, I mean, he just boo-hooed like a baby at the funeral. It was just
When did she pass?
2012.
Okay.
So, and they adopted a child,
Okay.
and he's still alive. And so
Not sure I knew that.
they've just started a foundation, the Lillian and John Lewis Foundation. So I'm going to definitely, you know, as things settle, try to do something to support that foundation. I don't know what we're going to do yet, but well, we'll find something.
Speaking of which, how would you say would it be the best way, or let me rephrase, how should his legacy and Lillian's, the John and dynamic duo of John and Lillian Lewis, how should their legacies be carried on?
Okay, first of all, by registering to vote, because that was their big thing, getting Black people to the polls, and making sure that's what he gave his life for. That's what they worked together for. So that would be, to me, the greatest way to remember both of them.
Yeah.
And then also, they were both very concerned about the homeless. And that's what we tried to do the last time I was down there.
In Atlanta.
In Atlanta. We hooked up with the food group. And because that area where this beautiful mural is, there are a lot of homeless people there. And so what we did, we passed out like snack packs. We hooked up with somebody that has connections with the food bank down there. But while we were down there, we were angry because of the way the place looked. It just, because it's right across the street from a very, very big Black church. It's like in the parking lot, but it's full of potholes, and because it's in an area where the homeless are, it's just not kept up well. There's trash everywhere. The King Center is just a few blocks up from where this mural is. And it doesn't look like that. And they were like, colleagues of the civil rights movement. And we just have got to do something about it.
So you say where the mural, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the mural, you said, is located in an area where there's a high homeless population?
A high homeless population, Auburn Avenue. Okay. And it's right across the street from a big church there. Okay. And, do
you know why that location was selected for the mural?
I don't know. Okay. I really don't know. But
and was it like a good city area. It's like city commissioned, or who painted it?
That's what I'm still trying to find out. Okay. We were we're trying to connect with the person that actually painted it, and also I've been in touch with the Butler Street Community Corporation, who allegedly owns the parking lot where it is, and we're trying to work together. But the thing is, we've got to get his fraternity involved in this, because he was a Sigma, and because I know the Alphas, they put up the Martin Luther King statue up here in DC, and it's just wonderful when you come to the nation's capital. But we're not pleased with the way that John Lewis's mural is being treated. Maintained. It's just a disgrace. It's almost a national disgrace, because when people come to visit Atlanta, they want to see that. Okay. Because it is beautifully painted. But we're working, trying to get them, and we're trying to use the media to help. The mayor's office called us, but they said they don't own the lot. So, but something's going to happen.
So a way for us as a collective to honor his legacy is to register to vote, and to also
help the less fortunate.
Yeah, especially the homeless population, because they were very, he and his wife were very passionate about serving them and helping them. So finding a way to support the homeless and organizations that help the homeless. But it seems like you're taking a step further in how you're honoring his legacy by finding a way, or you will find, I'm sure if anyone's going to find a solution, it probably will be you, Rocky, to help maintain a visual representation of what John Lewis means to the city and to the nation. So your way of carrying out his legacy, if I'm hearing correctly, is to try to upgrade the surroundings of the mural dedicated to John Lewis.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to do that. I'm not going to let that die.
Any final thoughts on the life and legacy of John and Lillian Lewis, on the impact they left on your life? Just anything else you'd like to add?
Well, the impact they left was absolutely tremendous. Mm-hmm. They opened up doors for me that I would never have been able to, achieve certain things without those contacts. And I'm eternally grateful to God for putting me in their lives. And I hope to see them in the heavenly kingdom, because they did so much for so many people. They sacrificed so much. And it was just a privilege to have known them. And we just have to really all just pray for each other and remember to, just really care for our fellow man like John Lewis and Lillian did. And I think as we look forward to the coming of Christ, things will be better as we near these closing days of Earth's history.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your memories and for letting us know how we should carry out his legacy and how you are currently carrying out his legacy. Thank you so much, Rocky.
Well, it has been a privilege and an honor.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of News Points on the Air. News Points on the Air is produced, edited, and hosted by me, Milan Medley. Executive producers are Dan Weber, Julio Munoz, and Kimberly Moran. Graphics are by Jonathan LaPointe. Listen and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Share with your friends, share with your family, give us a 5-star rating, nothing less, and write a glowing review. Also, be sure to subscribe to News Points. It's our weekly digital newsletter with news stories, special announcements, and ministry resources. Visit nadadventist.org, then click on news. If you have questions or comments for me, send them to ontheair@nadadventist.org. That's ontheair@nadadventist.org. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.